possible. He says he would be most honored if Tessia Aerolith would refer to this humble countryside boy as Arthur. The girl pinches his cheeks for teasing her like this, and as their banter continues, Tessia suddenly notices something. She happily rushes in that direction, while our boy isn't exactly thrilled. As far as he can see, it's just moss, leaves, fog, trees, and lots of trees. Anyhow, their journey continues, and I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the longest journeys I've faced in the manhwa. Though this journey serves its purpose in character development, and because of it, our boy seems to have gotten closer to the little lady. Despite the mental age gap, they've grown a lot closer. Another day arrives, bringing another round of exploring the unknown woods. It looks like this long journey has finally borne fruit as they seem to have made their way. After feeling all the trees around her, Tessia finally finds the one she had been searching for. She does some magic mojo and opens a green gate in the wooden tree, inviting him to follow her inside. As soon as Arthur steps in, he falls through to the other side of the gate. When Arthur gets up and helps himself look ahead, he sees a magnificent sight. There's an entire civilization of elves, and the only word that pops into his mind after witnessing the grandeur of this place is pristine. But even that word feels like it doesn't do the place justice. As soon as the eyes of the local elves lock onto our boy, some soldiers quickly appear right before them. The soldiers aren't here to apprehend him, though. Instead, they're here to escort the royal princess with full protocol. The sight shocks Arthur to the point where he has no clue how in the hell he's supposed to react. His mind is clouded with all sorts of questions, but Tessia just nods her head slightly to affirm that what he's seeing is indeed real. One of the knights reports that they arrived as soon as they noticed the oral teleportation gate had been used. He also mentions that the king and queen have returned as well. Promptly, the scene pans to the panicking parents rushing toward their girl, Tessia. The lady is Mariel Aerolith, queen of Elenoir, and the man behind her is, of course, her husband, Alduin Aerolith, king of Elenoir. Another big shot enters the scene, Virion Aerolith. A name noted in every history book, he's the former king of Elenoir, known for leading the last war against the humans of the Sapin kingdom. With all of her family members gathered, Arthur gently pushes Tessia forward toward her worried parents, and they exchange warm hugs with her. Seeing how warm and full of love the scene is, Arthur remembers his own parents and wonders if his mother and father will react the same way when they see him again. King Alduin turns to Arthur and expresses his heartfelt gratitude, not just as the king of Elenoir, but as Tessia's father. As a small gesture of thanks for helping Tessia arrive home safely, he invites Arthur to accompany them to their home. Arthur is free to rest for a few days, and in the meantime, the king is eagerly looking forward to hearing the tale of their journey. Arthur can sense how firm and gentle the man's tone is, but his eyes clearly betray that feeling. From the look in his eyes, it's clear that what he requested isn't an offer, it's an order. Arthur reciprocates the gesture by expressing his gratitude for the offer, but he's suddenly yanked away when Tessia grabs him by the hand and starts dragging him along. Even the onlookers are startled to see this. The girl, on the other hand, is just dying to show him everything this place has to offer. Well, our boy's first impression is one of absolute awe. Although he had somewhat expected an impressive castle after learning that Tessia was a princess, the magnificent place before him is just more than a castle or mansion to live in. At one point, Arthur even starts to wonder if he's accidentally transmigrated into some corny fantasy novel. The queen quickly introduces their little guest to the maids and orders them to make sure Arthur has the best time possible while he's there. Arthur is glad to receive all this pleasant treatment, but he feels the need to explain what happened first. It looks like Tessia's parents are more than willing to hear all the juicy details. So, all the core members of the family, including some senior knights, gather to hear Arthur out. First, our boy gives an introduction, presenting himself as Arthur Lewin from a humble town in the kingdom of Sapin, and he's quite honored to be in the presence of the royal family. It's a little over the top for an introduction, but Arthur knows the discussion isn't going to progress if they treat him like a child. Even the king can't help but point out how, despite Arthur claiming to come from humble origins, he seems rather mature and well-educated. This only piques their interest in what he has to say. And so, our boy recounts his journey, starting with a vague explanation that he got separated from his family after running into bandits. It's not exactly a lie, but more of a half-truth. Inevitably, as the story progresses to the part where he ran into their daughter, the atmosphere shifts. The king grows visibly angry upon hearing it was slave traders, or rather, humans who captured Tessia. It's clear that the king doesn't have a favorable impression of humans to begin with, and this revelation only fuels his disdain. Our boy also does not like the fact that this elf king is stereotyping the entire human race behind few slave traders. So with all due respect, my guy corrects this man that slave trading is a profession, not a race. This remark only earns our boy a lot of shining blades pointed at him, but Virion Aerolith quickly stops the knights from stepping forward. Virion, intrigued by the story so far, expresses curiosity about how Arthur managed to free his granddaughter from the bandits. Perhaps he negotiated or begged them for mercy, but our boy denies doing anything like that and honestly explains that he's also a mage despite the fact that he is a child. So basically, he eliminated the slave traders and rescued their granddaughter. One impatient knight, out of anger, quickly draws his sword from its scabbard. As far as he's concerned, Arthur is being absurd with the lies he's spouting in front of everyone. But this impulsive action only earns the knight a deadly glare from Virian Aerolith, a glare so intense it rattles the overeager knight on the spot. Finally, Arthur stands up from his seat and declares that he doesn't care whether anyone believes him or not. The fact remains that Tessia has been returned safely. The only wish he wants granted is to return to his family in Sapen. Hearing this, Tessia is shocked that Arthur is leaving so soon. The girl's parents are startled to see how much compassion she feels for him. Meanwhile, Arthur gently reminds her of the history humans and elves share, so he doesn't believe it's appropriate for a human to remain inside this kingdom for too long. Besides, his current priority is ensuring his family is safe and letting them know he's okay as well. The king decides to speak next. He briefly acknowledges the past between the two kingdoms and emphasizes that Arthur saved their daughter and went through the trouble of accompanying her all the way back to Elenoir. This, the king declares, entitles Arthur to a befitting reward. First, the king shares the unfortunate news. The teleportation gate linked to the Sapen kingdom is only accessible once every 7 years during the summit conference between the three races. This means it will be another 5 years before the gate opens again. However, the king is more than happy to send a group of guards to escort Arthur back home safely. He also expresses his wish for Arthur to stay a little longer, giving the elves a chance to serve and spoil him as a guest. The king admits that while some elves are tolerant of humans, too many still hold grudges from the war long ago. For now, Arthur is told to make himself at home, as they will have his escort prepared by tomorrow morning. Later, Arthur finds himself inside a lavish room that's been given to him. The first thing he does is take a well-deserved shower, but while he showers, the pain from his mana core suddenly flares up again, causing him to double over. After finishing, he rests on the couch, holding the egg Sylvia had entrusted to him. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. When he opens it, he finds Tessia standing in front of him. Without any prior warnings, she headbutts him in the belly, almost making him gag. Apparently, she's upset about how coldly he spoke to her parents, and the fact that he's planning to leave so soon. Arthur tries to remind this gullible girl that he was only being respectful since they are the king and queen of the entire kingdom. In fact, he's the one who should be angry. She didn't tell him about their royal status beforehand. Tessia sticks to her guns and makes it clear that she doesn't want him to leave because he's the first friend she's ever made. Hearing this makes Arthur crack a smile. In a friendly gesture, he places his hand over her neck like they're lifelong buddies and tells her to stop being a crybaby and show him around the castle. And so, they explore the castle together. Tessia makes sure to take him to her favorite spot in the entire place. This particular spot looks absolutely breathtaking during spring when the flowers bloom. She also introduces him to a unique type of insect known as glow bees, which are specially cultivated there. As she's trying to show him the glow bees, Arthur suddenly notices something coming from behind. It's a dagger. Without wasting a single nanosecond, he grabs the little lady and pushes her aside. In the same instant, he catches the weapon and retaliates with the insane speed he has got. Well, the person behind this stunt is none other than Virian Aerolith, her grandfather. Arthur is absolutely shocked, thinking her own grandfather just tried to take a hit on her. But the old man calmly assures him that the weapon he's holding is just a toy. Now that Arthur takes a closer look, he feels a bit embarrassed for being tricked. Virian, on the other hand, is impressed. Seeing how fast Arthur reacted, from catching this little to even using it against him instantly, is mind-boggling. The old man notes that Arthur's mana usage is mediocre at best, but he now has no doubts about how he could have taken down a group of slave traders. Arthur is unsure whether to feel insulted or complimented, so he just stays quiet. Tessia chimes in, scolding her grandfather and prohibits him from teasing Arthur. It seems like the old man didn't have any intention of teasing anyone. In fact, he approached Arthur because he finds him fascinating. It's been a long time since he's met someone as interesting as our boy. Virian tosses a wooden sword at Arthur, deciding to see what the boy is really made of. Arthur grabs it promptly and, without hesitation, swings it as fast as he can, directly slashing at the old man. But what he strikes turns out to be a mana illusion. Virian, however, is impressed by the guts of this little brat. Not backing down, Arthur charges again and strikes with his wooden sword. This time too, what he hits is only a decoy. This moment of vulnerability leaves Arthur wide open, and the old man takes the chance to swing back. Arthur dodges just in time, jumping out of his initial position to safeguard himself. Despite his agility, Arthur still ends up taking a nasty elbow smash, but that's not enough to faze him. Without holding back, Arthur charges right back, wooden sword in hand. His speed is remarkable, but it's clear he's barely holding his own against this old coot, who isn't even breaking a sweat. Eventually, Arthur finds himself wide open once more, and gets knocked back by the old man, tumbling away. Tessia quickly rushes to check on him. It looks like the old man has not gone off without taking damage either. Arthur has finally managed to graze this old man with his blade. Well, this old man deserves this hit, considering how full of himself he looked, as if there is no better fighter than him. While Virion is eager for another round, Tessia firmly puts her foot down. She refuses to let it happen, and playfully pinches her grandfather for thinking about bullying Arthur for more than he already has. The old man simply smiles back and admits that if he had gone easier on Arthur, he'd be the one at the mercy of someone decades his junior. Our boy, on the other hand, feels honored to see how highly Virion thinks of him, but Arthur's reaction seems to get to the old man, and he quickly shifts from smiling to serious. As far as he's concerned, if Arthur truly sees him as his esteemed and honorable senior, then he invites him to become his disciple. This unexpected offer leaves Arthur absolutely bewildered, and he questions whether the elder is actually serious. The old man, of course, confirms that he is. However, Arthur reminds him that he's just a human, and he's not even sure if it's allowed for humans to stay in this kingdom. But Virion promises that no one will dare kick him out while he's under his tutelage. He vows to teach Arthur something far more valuable than even the most capable mages in Sapin could offer. Still, despite the tempting offer, Arthur politely declines. He has no intention of wasting time here until he reunites with his parents. Hearing this, the old man makes another promise, to let Arthur communicate with his parents so they'll know he's alive and well. Before elaborating further, the old man orders the maids to take Tessia to bathe and get some rest. Once they're alone, the old man claims to know about Arthur's condition, like how he's been experiencing bouts of searing pain right where his mana core is located, and how those bouts are becoming more frequent. Naturally, Arthur is curious about how the old man knows so much, but Virion brushes off the question, saying it's pointless. Instead, Arthur should be asking what the real problem behind his illness is. Before elaborating anything, he asks Arthur if he knows anything about beast wills. Although this term is completely unfamiliar to Arthur, his mind immediately drifts back to the moment Sylvia struck his mana core. Before continuing the conversation, the old man assumes that Arthur has at least encountered a few mana beasts by now. He then explains that a beast powerful enough to be categorized as Class A or higher gains the ability to pass on their will or inherent ability to another, either to their offspring or to someone they choose to bond with. He promises not to pry into how Arthur stumbled upon such a powerful beast will, but warns him that, at this stage, the power within him is doing more harm than good. The fact that the old man knows all this makes Arthur assume that Virion also possesses a beast will too. Well, the old man doesn't shy away from admitting it. He claims he's professionally a beast tamer, a title he earned by fully conquering the monstrous beast will inside himself. He acknowledges why Arthur desperately wants to see his family and return home, but he warns that doing so right now comes with a grave risk. The power of the beast will inside Arthur is too potent for his immature body to handle. If it isn't controlled soon, the power he has obtained will destroy his body from the inside out. As Arthur lays down, his face is covered with glistening sweat. There's a heavy sensation pressing down on his body. As he drifts in and out of unconsciousness, he sees the monstrous personification of his worries and burdens. The expectations placed on him haunt him, even in his sleep. But the source of all this weight is not some ethereal creature. It is Tessia, perched right atop him, unknowingly pressing him further into the depths of his exhaustion. She's apparently here to wake him up because she can't wait to start this new, exciting day with him. But it seems Arthur still hasn't had enough sleep, so calls the shadow monster back to give him just a few more minutes. Later, while Arthur gets ready for the day, Tessia asks to confirm if what her grandpa said about him staying is actually true. Well, our boy isn't too sure about this. His plan to stay here depends entirely on the trip with Elder Virion. As Arthur walks toward the carriage he's supposed to ride with the Elder, the King and Queen can be seen pleading with Elder Virion to reconsider, because it's inappropriate for a human to stay in their kingdom. It goes against the traditions the elves have upheld for decades, but the old coot makes it clear that Arthur has caught his attention, so he wants him to stay a little longer. Besides, their daughter seems to have taken a liking to him as well, which is just another reason to keep him around for a bit more time. Despite all the pleas from the king, Elder Virion sticks to his guns. He assures the royals that he'll keep Arthur under his direct guidance to ensure everyone in the kingdom knows he's being watched over. Seeing how Elder Virion is standing up for him makes Arthur crack a smile. Once they hop into the carriage, they begin their journey.